Hi, welcome back to Unfinished Business. I am your host, Kimberly Griggs, and today I am joined by Jaz Lin. Jaz is the CEO and co-founder of Skyrelis, and Jaz brings a really unique perspective to security and entrepreneurship. She's led product teams at big companies like Cisco and VMware and Rubrik, scaling different security businesses to over 350 million. And because of her experience in doing this work, she is now tackling one of the biggest questions facing modern businesses today, and that is how to stay secure in a world full of autonomous systems. So we are going to unpack her journey, the problem that her new company, Skyrelis, is solving, and what she has learned about building really complex solutions in this space. So, Jaz, I want to welcome you to the show, and I appreciate you being here to visit with us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, so take me back a little bit. You've had this remarkable career inside these large enterprises, but take me to the moment when you knew that you wanted to apply your experience and, step away from what was familiar and start Skyrelis.
Yeah. The idea of Skyrelis is really starting in my previous role. And I was leading the product and the marketing team for this 911 network security infrastructure company. And many leaderships were being asked many times, what's your AI strategy, right, by our board? We do have strategy, right? We're actually quickly using AI technology to translate many different language for 911. But then I just realized that I don't have the right solution to give to my security team so we can monitor and all these solutions. For all the entire application lifecycle, once you're in the productions, the ownership shift from developer to security team. And 2024 for me is all about doing research in this space. And I just realized this is a new category. This is a category gap. So then I decided to quit my job and start this company. So I'm not a typical founder, I would say, because I never thought I would start a company. I feel very lucky. I feel like this fell in my lap, and I feel like time is right. So that's why I quit my previous job and start a company.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And congratulations to you on that. When you say gap, explain what you mean by that. Where do you feel the gap is in the market?
Right. Today, if you look into the AI agentic market, actually a lot of talk about AI safety. A lot of tools out there, but these tools are more developer focused. Like they give the developer the tool so they can build in certain security feature. Right, just like any SaaS application, you need to have authentication, certain security feature in. But these are not the right tool for security team. Because once your application in production, security team, they need to enforce policy. What policy, what I was referring to, for example, policy can be developer can only use approved LLM. Right? English only in the prompt. These policy need to be enforced in real time, not really wired in the SDK in the application.
Today, I've never really thought about that.
Yeah. Today, if you look at the market, 90% of the tool talking about AI safety and security is all about developer to wire in the policy statically in the applications. It's like writing a traffic law. Right? You're writing a law, don't over the speed limit, don't run over the red light, but you're praying all the driver follow the rule. That's not policy, that's guidance. That's the reality today in the market.
Yeah, that's interesting. Skyrelis is really focusing on, agentic security and, like you said, sort of the enforcement opportunity within that, correct? But for our listeners who are not in security and don't have, a tech background, can you really break that down on a very simplistic level? What exactly does Skyrelis do, and why does it matter so much in the AI space?
That makes sense. Thank you for that question. So one sentence, Skyrelis is an AI infrastructure company for agentic security. What does that mean? That means that we're building that security and the policy layer for entire agentic AI. So that means that we separate the policy from application. There's a policy enforcement, that engine right here allows security team to enforce the policy without going back to wire in the policy into the applications. So why this is important? Because today, look, developers, they are not CISO. They are not security team, right? Right now in the market, we have assigned the wrong responsibility under the wrong identity. Recently, I read an article about this that right now we basically attack developers' identity. We force them, right, to actually do what security team need to do. It's not because security team, they don't want to do it, because they don't have the right tool. Developer is supposed to spend most of their time to develop the productivity applications, not that spending time to wiring the compliance and policy. Pretty much 10% of developer time now is have to spend on wiring the policy in. So that is a challenge. That's one thing. And the second thing here is that we need to make sure our infrastructure are flexible enough. The ecosystem is still evolving. So we need to make sure that we have this kind of plug and play architecture so we can use in the right language model, right, to enforce the policies, so on and so forth. That's kind of very high level.
Yeah, no. So let me make sure that I understand what you're saying. Is Skyrelis then essentially the guard, if you will, that's in real time monitoring to make sure that these policies are enforced?
Correct.
Is that one way of looking at it?
Yes. So basically, we're building in the infrastructure. So security team, they can configure the policy they want to enforce to across the entire organization. And they can just hit a button to enforce without going back to ask the developer, hey, please wire in this policy.
Yes, love that.
Yeah.
So who is this solution for? I mean, what kinds of companies are really struggling with this challenge today?
Yeah. So pretty much any company, any size of company, they deploy agentic security, right? And who are the buyer, who are the user will be security team, right? Like CISO office, not so much developer, right? So we want to really separate the responsibility and give the security team the right tool so they can fulfill their responsibility.
Yeah. Jaz, what has been one of the most surprising hurdles while you have been getting Skyrelis off the ground? What have you encountered?
Yeah, I think to continue educate the market, this new category, right? So I've been spending a lot of time to really write an article and building the tool for them to understand, to make people understand what does agentic security actually mean. So today, this is new category educations, right? Today, a lot of tool, there are a lot of terminology, example, DevSecOps, development security operations, MLSecOps, AISecOps. The terminology just keep building up. All of these terminology is really focused on developer side. So doing this education is critical. How can we give the leader in the market the right tool to understand what this agentic security really is about? One thing I think is very critical, agentic security is new, AI is new. The markets evolve so quickly, right? So I think Sam Altman was saying that, hey, very soon language model will be commoditized, right? There will be many very specialized language model coming out. So really long-term the vision, what we try to build is this plug and play infrastructure. We don't want to put a bet on just one language model, one guardrail tool, right? We want to be able to have that switch when our customer coming in. If they are specialized in healthcare, we will use the right tool, right language model that meet their requirement. We're using the different guardrail tool for them. So what we really help doing in here is really building that flexibility into the infrastructure to be risk aware, to be a little bit feature proof, because we don't know what feature will come.
Sure. So you're saying that each enterprise that you work with will have a customized version of what this looks like, not a one size fits all like a large language model.
I love it. Yes, it's definitely not one size fits all, right? So absolutely that. And also that flexibility is like if today you have one application, you have different user group, they require different security policy. I can build that in. I have that flexibility.
I guess.
So personalization is not just feature. The security also need to be personalized based on your customer, based on your user.
Right. And the data protection that you're trying to secure.
Absolutely.
So tell me, I'm just playing devil's advocate, but let's just say that a business, I mean, banking, for instance, without these policies, what happens if they start using AI agents for customer service and that type of support? What happens without the security parameters?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. The investors constantly ask me that question as well. There are a couple of things. Without this layer, your security team will constantly going back to developer to wiring the policy. That's one thing. Second thing is become very costly. It's because that every single time if you have policy change, then you have to go back to ask the developer to wire in that policy. It's very costly. So I actually built an ROI calculator to show that if you have that policy layer without depends on developers, how much money you can save. Basically, security can become a business accelerator, not just a break. That's number one. Number two here, you mentioned about the fintech. Like a lot of time, a lot of fintech company, they actually handle money transfer. Immediately, security team will be able to set the company-wide policy. That's a golden rule. There's no AI agent can handle any transaction more than 10K. So you don't have to go back to ask the developer to write in. This is company level policy. They need to be enforced that as a golden rule, nobody can override. That's one thing. Second thing is that we need to make sure that your security policy will meet the requirement. Today, your customer might be in Europe, might be in different country, in different part of the United States. They might have different regulations. How are you going to enforce that? And it will become a CI/CD nightmare, developer nightmare, because different location, you need to have different security policy, right? So that's localization and personalization of the security policy is very, very key. With all the regulatory tailwind coming in, we need to have solution to address that.
That's very interesting. You kind of allude to this, but I want to ask a question. You have been on both sides. Large enterprises that definitely have infrastructure and investments to move into this space versus, maybe a private sector that, is less equipped to roll these types of tools out. Knowing that, how has that influenced the way that you are choosing to lead your company?
Thank you. And I appreciate that question because it looks like you look at my LinkedIn profile. One thing about me that really made me feel so excited is that I do have experience from both sides, right? Sit on both sides of the table as a technical leader and product leader to build a security solution from ground up. I was also in part of the CISO organization to help evaluate deploy the solution. I try to look at things from both lenses. That's one thing. And luckily, I have experience, work for the big company and medium-sized company, so on and so forth. Like you said, security is not one size fits all, right? So it's like Cisco, VMware, they try to solve the security problem differently. So they solve by code and portfolio company, right? They solve the new problem through acquisitions. So that's why they can have such a breadth of solution. However,
because they have a team that's versed in that particular aspect. So like you're saying, whereas the private sector has all of these roles blended instead of the separation.
That's right. For that kind of solution, you really need an entire security operation to monitor and manage it. Tens of medium-sized company, they have the budget, but they don't have luxury to hire the entire security operations.
Or even they may not even know that needs to be a thing. Or they may not have resources to even find those people to create the best in-class team.
Yes, absolutely. How are you going to compete with a large company? Now you have to find someone have security background and agentic background. That's extremely challenge. Yeah. So the way that for Skyrelis, the way we want to solve it is really build a very simple solution, high order complexity from our customer. Later on, we would like to offer the managed services to help them to manage the solution for them, right? So different size of company, they do require different solution. Unfortunately, today, medium-sized company, they're so underserved for security. Coming along this agentic security, their needs is even higher.
What is one leadership or product building lesson that has really shaped the way that you're operating today?
Wow, so many. But I think one thing I will want to say is through these two things: stay focused. Stay focused. There are so many agentic, especially for agentic security, it's such a big and evolving market. Stay focused. Understand the real challenge and stay focused, solve the one or two problem at a time. And the second thing is probably, mistakes inevitable and make mistake and quickly move on. Recognize the mistake.
Fail fast.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, what are, if you could give yourself, I mean, I know you mentioned you never saw yourself being a founder of a startup, but if you could give the entrepreneurial spirit of yourself some earlier advice, what would you give her?
I would think that I think I'm lucky. I did not go out there hunt for the problem, the solution. It just fell on my lap because that is my first-hand experience. I think if I go back to understand the problem,
Mm,
really understand the problem, understand the struggle, right? And don't try to provide solution without really understand the problem. So I spend so much time on the problem. Like
yeah.
2024 is all about understand why can I use the existing solution. I
Yeah.
try to use it whatever out there in the market, and then I decide to really start a company. I think that would be one of the advice I would give anybody try to enter the startup world.
Yeah, so stay close to the problem. And just for some context, because I think that is, industry wide. I don't think that matters what industry that you're in. I think the longer you spend with a problem, the better solution and outcomes that you will find. But I'm curious what that journey in terms of time, a timeline looked like for you. How long have you been sitting with this problem of security?
I was start 2024 and maybe the first quarter of 2025. Right? So I quit the job and I used in 3 months go deep. Use the 3 months to do the market analysis, competitive landscape analysis. I want to say it's more than a year. And I try to convince myself to use the existing solutions to solve a problem. And for each solution, I write it down why I cannot use it. And try to
Mm.
convince myself, convince my team, convince my fellow in CISO community, right? So I spend longest time to convince myself not to do it.
Yeah, I love that you share that because, you know, first of all, I think that methodology is probably something that I don't hear a lot of entrepreneurs speak a lot of. I mean, you really sat with the work, you did the work. But taking feedback when you are convinced that you have a great idea and taking that feedback and being able to sit with, here's why this one won't work, and eliminating things, I think is so important. I mean, to your point of failing fast. But for those that are stuck on this is the right thing, what would your advice to someone in trying to create the best solution possible? What would your advice to someone be? Like, if you could share a couple of words of wisdom with them, what would you tell them about what that process entails?
I think I want to talk about the uniqueness of what we're facing today in this agentic world. AI, things move so fast. You think that is your differentiator today. 3 months later, there's another breakthrough. So it's
Yeah.
not about the clever ideas. There are more people that smarter than me, more qualified than me to do this job. One thing is that how can you build in the flexibility into your solution to help your customers to avoid that risk? How can you be just a little bit future proof? I think to
Mm,
me, that's the most important things. Look, like I don't have crystal ball. So
yeah.
it's not about clever idea. I don't believe it, right? It's about how can you build in that little bit feature proof into your solution. That's why we keep very keen on the plug and play infrastructure of our solution. We don't put on bet on one large language model. We are that
Mhm.
infrastructure allow you to switch quickly. Depends on what is the best that can meet your vertical, meet your solutions requirement. That is the key golden rule I keep telling my team. That's something I cannot live without. Yeah,
Yeah. And to keep going back, kind of almost letting that be your guidepost. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a North Star.
Yeah. I love that. What part of Skyrelis are you most excited about right now?
My team,
I
absolutely
love
my
that.
team. God, I have to say that I am so lucky. I'm very lucky. I didn't go out there hunt for the solution to build to be a founder. And then I have a one team member, my co-founder, Daljit. He's a second time founder, and he was building agentic security solution for a different company. Like we exchange notes over coffee. He believed in the vision direction. He joined right away. And my second co-founder, Shri, she is a fractional CTO for the startup company. She has an in-depth knowledge about building a SaaS applications. So I think my team, that's the best assets of Skyrelis.
You mentioned, how did this team formulate? You mentioned kind of it sounds like a casual type of conversation, but two people that were interested in the same idea. Do you find that a lot? I mean, do you find now being connected to different startups and talking about what those challenges look like, that people are collaborating more often?
Yeah, I think that I based in the Bay Area. I feel like in the entire US, actually, like people are very willing to help. So I
Mm.
see that in other startups as well. And again, it's not that I knew that I want to fund a company, start kind of building that network. I did not, and I'm just very lucky that way. I bumped into right people in the right time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and sometimes that, I mean, I hear those stories too. Sometimes that is absolutely how you fall into entrepreneurship, but which I love. I love that that happens. Jez, have there been some early customer wins or signals that, you're seeing that this is a solution that is going to be future proof and a big opportunity?
Yes, yes. So look, I know that in the startup world, investor will feel more comfortable to invest if you have the signed contract and so on and so forth. I
Hmm.
took a little bit different approach. I'm not pushing my customer to sign anything with me. And I kind of want to build my policy engine with them. Once they see it, then I will kind of convince them to sign any contract. So right
Yeah.
now, we're working with several of the medium-sized company, right, in different vertical. So day one, we only want to handful because we want to have to give them the full focus, so that build a solution based on their need.
Yeah.
So it's actually very exciting. We have the handful of the design partners in different verticals and different size companies as well.
Are you able to share what some of those verticals are?
Might be a little bit too early. Oh, one
Okay.
is in travel and one is in the AI native in security as well. And the
Okay.
other one is MarTech, and another one is in the telco services.
Interesting. And so far, what are these clients telling you about the experience in working with your team?
I think validation about the struggle, right? So
Yes.
to have developer, I think all the things I just mentioned, I'm just very, very glad I get a validation from them and to validate that, just simple. Because once you validate the problem statement, building is actually a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exciting. I mean, to me, it's like finding a problem and being able to have that problem resonate with others. That's the reason we do this in the first place.
Yeah, I think it's not about how, it's about what and why.
Yes.
So that is what we spend so much time with, and hence that focus on building. That's what we focus on
Yeah.
right now.
I love the way that you are approaching building the business. This show is called Unfinished Business for a reason because I believe both in personal and in certainly in entrepreneurship, there is always going to be some amount of work that is still unfinished, or in your words, the crystal ball, which is really getting really harder and harder to project, right? But I'm curious, what still feels unfinished for you right now in this mission more broadly?
We just start a journey, right? So continue defining this new category, right?
Hmm.
So we're a startup company. We're not that big company with big name. Hence, that help define a new category and make sure the story resonate with others and building the tool article for other people to understand what we try to build. I think that is unfinished for me. We just get started, and we
Yeah.
need to keep doing that more and more and more. I keep. I mean, I'm very focused on writing and also building a tool for people to understand why this is important.
Hmm. And what is one challenge that right now, if you solved, would move the needle in a big way for helping people understand what this is and the reason behind it?
Have more real life product deployment. I think that's one. Build a couple very, very solid use case and showcase people this is how to do it. Not so much about applications, but actually about infrastructure. If you just keep building application-based solutions, it's hard to scale, right?
Yeah.
So that would be something. Yes.
And if we were having this conversation 12 months from now, so at the end of 2026, we're in, fourth quarter of 2026, imagine, what would you have been the most proud of to have accomplished with Skyrelis?
I want to be able to re-demonstrate the new solution, the new way to solve the problem. Again, the AI infrastructure, not just talking, help my customer to talk about this new
Mm.
approach and to really branch it out to outside the US as well, right? And to show that doesn't matter how how complicated regulations requirement is, you can do it. Especially for the company doing the business across multiple countries, right? I want to be able to showcase, right, the real-time deployment.
As we wrap up with the final question, this is really more on the journey of entrepreneurship. And again, you being kind of very early in on what it looks like to create something of your own. But the challenges, imagine the challenges that you've faced, and imagine 5 years from now, the type of things and problems that you will have worked through and solved. But I want you to imagine, really fast forward as far as you could possibly take Skyrelis. You've built this platform, you have amazing testimonials. People really have an understanding as to why that this is so crucial and how much it can actually save the business, while, the productivity tools in use are fantastic, but why it can actually save them hours and hours and hours of development. What are 3 pieces of advice that you would leave behind for any entrepreneur, no matter what space they're in, when they're building something as complex as you are? What are 3 pieces of advice that you would share with them?
I think I would say that stay focused and think big.
Yeah.
Not because you are the first time founder, not because that you're a startup. Solve the problem, and really, it's okay if this is big. Because at the beginning, I'm very timid about to talk about AI infrastructure. But I think because AI infrastructure sounds big, complicated. But I firmly believe this is the right approach, and go for it. Right.
Yes.
So don't try to solve the problem, start from small. If you believe that that is the right way to solve the problem, just go straight to it. And I have to work on my mental block, but I think that this is the right way to do it, then, do it.
That's very applicable to so many different people that are trying to build something that they have a passion for and that they can see a need for. I think it's very applicable. But what else would you share with them?
Be focus on detail. Detail matter, especially when you talk to customers. Sometimes they just very quickly mention about something. And if you move on, you might miss out something really big is important. That stay focused, be detail oriented, and don't worry about, think big. And if you believe that that's a direction, and just go for it. I think
Yeah.
that's something I would like to advise myself.
Yes. Yes. And by extension, share with others. I love that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your approach and what I'm hearing and how you're building. Clearly, this is a personal issue to you as well as it is a technical one, and it sounds deeply needed. And definitely, we are going to be cheering you on. But with that being said, I want to make sure that people can connect with you. For people that are at least interested in learning more or, getting more education, what information do you have available for them and where can they find it?
Yeah, there are 2 ways they can find us. One is going to our website, www.skyrelis.com. That's Skyrelis. Or they can find me on LinkedIn and reach out to me, send me the direct message if you have a question or you want to learn a little bit more about um, our approach and even the ROI calculator. So there are a lot of business leaders reach out to us. We have a clearly breakdown ROI calculator, why agentic security can become a business accelerator, right? Not a breaker. I think as a leadership team, have number is very important because when you walk into the board meeting, it's all about number, right? It's not about your vision, not about your dream. It's about number. So we are very keen on building the right tool for our customer to be able to justify what they want to do. So reach out to me to link and I'm pretty quick on follow up my email or go to our website to learn more about our solutions.
Fantastic. And we will definitely be linking Skyrelis' information in the show notes as well. I want to thank you, Jaz, one more time for being here today and visiting with us. And for all of those listening, if you are interested in learning more, I'm going to encourage you to reach out to Jaz personally through LinkedIn. And like I said, we'll have that linked in the show notes. Thank you for being here and keep tuning in to Unfinished Business.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
Take care.